Okay, the structure you see in back of me is the Barnes-Britton house. Now, during the battle, this house was built way before the battle. I think it was built in about 1714. This house was built by a farmer. He owned about 300 acres of land in this general area. He built this structure. You notice something about this structure that I mentioned earlier is the brickwork. It's short brown bricks and long red bricks. Now you see a lot of this brickwork in Philadelphia. This was very expensive for the time. So this gentleman was a blacksmith. He made hinges. He made horseshoes. He made everything that was iron. Now during colonial periods, during this time, people needed pots, pans. He made all this here. The accounts of it now are he went broke. He died in debt, but his house survives. Now the significance during the Battle of Brandywine about this residence is that it was here, and that right where I'm standing, generally, this is where the British passed by. This is where the road was. As you can hear behind me, Route 1, Baltimore Pike, has moved. It's shifted in back of the house. The nice bricks that you see in front of me are facing the road, which would be right here where that sign is. The bricks on the other side of the house are just regular bricks. They're not the brown bricks. He wanted the good side of the house facing towards the road. Now this house was used as a tavern. It was built as a tavern. It has two separate living quarters in it. One for the tavern, downstairs. One on the right side of the building that was used for travelers of ye old horse and wagon. And on the other side was where the family stayed. There's two staircases in this building. One for the other side on the left, one for the other side on the right. When man and horse came down this road, they would stop in this tavern for the night. It was tiresome. It was cold. They were on horseback. They would stop here. They would get alcohol, refreshments downstairs, and there'd be a bar there. Now there's a lot of speculations about where the name bar came from. People think it's the bar you put your foot on. It's not. Bars were actually a cage, and there's one in this house. It was a cage that separated the liquor from the people that were drinking it. There'd be a cage that came down, so when the inhabitants went to sleep, the patriots wouldn't steal their liquor. So they had to lock it up behind bars. That's why we call them bars today. Back to the battle. The road was right here. The house was right here. So basically they plundered it. They came by here. Germans came by. Now during this time they were fighting. They fought Maxwell's Light Infantry up the street at Kenneth Meeting House. So there was some of these people were wounded. Now the British Army had an interesting aspect of having empty wagons. At the end of the baggage train there was wagons that had nothing on them. The reason why they had these wagons is they put the wounded and dead in them. Now, as I was saying before, the mass grave, they didn't have time to. They didn't have time to accumulate their wounded and dead. They were buried up at the Kenneth Meeting House. So these wagons were stocked with provisions from this house right here. They stole liquor, they took hinges, they took horseshoes from this house. They also stayed in here for a while. This was actually Lord Cornwallis and Howe, I think, actually were inside this building. They enjoyed a drink, they raided it, the inhabitants couldn't say anything, they stood outside the house and watched them go by. Now, as you see in front of me, there's definitely a road here. Now this road existed up until probably the 1940s, before this highway here. This house behind me is a National Historic Land Site. Like I was saying before, not too many of these homes survive in Chester County. This is owned by the Chadds Ford Historical Society. They graciously repaired and restored this house to exactly what it looked like during that battle. The windows are original, leaded glass that aren't copies of the original. And also, if you can notice, I don't know if you can notice on this video, up in the corner of that house, there's a figure 8 in dark bricks surrounded by a triangle. Now, there's a lot of speculation about what that is. Why was that built into the house, the figure 8 and the triangle? Was it for good luck? A lot of Chester County houses have round plaques, and it says the date of the completion of the house. We don't know to this day why that's up there, but it's there. When the battle went by here, this house was not burned. They could have burned the house down. They could have said, we don't want you. You're being, we're taking your stuff. We're not going to burn your house. So they went by. By this time, as the wagons went by with the provisions, they took their livestock, their horses. They were left with nothing. So they had to recover after the war. But this is another house on one of the tours that was historically accurate and also was plundered.